not looking forward to tonight's football game. It's not going to be a good one.
Well, we're live now, so good luck, I guess, in the football game, Eddie.
Well, thanks, buddy.
All right, everyone, welcome to the first episode of SCSRA on the air. Tonight, we got myself, David, Devin, SCSRA league owner, and Eddie, one of the other admins, joining us tonight. Got some things to go over. Nothing important, just we're going to do this every week. Go over the week 10, or the week's races, winners and losers. Some things coming up, things we need to talk about, what season 7 looks like, things like that. So first off, introductions. Myself, my name's David, one of the admins for the SCSRA. Primarily do race control. That's about it, and race when I can. Working on racing more, but with the field that we've been having, 15, 20, 25 guys, we need to have someone watching and making sure that rules are being followed, stuff like that. So that's kind of my primary job is race control, enforcing the rules that we do have on the books, make sure everyone's kind of in order. Eddie, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, bud.
I got suckered into doing this because I figured out Photoshop, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of how I got suckered into it. Been here since day one. Of course, if you've been around the league, you know the story. But yeah, man, to see what it's became today, it's pretty awesome. But usually I do the graphics, try to do some of that stuff, do quite a bit of the paints that you see if you watch the broadcasts. Not all of them, but good majority. So that's kind of cool, being able to see something that you done and people run it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
All right. Well, how long have you been? I know that the SCSRA was kind of an offshoot from the iOS league. How long have you been racing with a lot of these guys, including Devin?
Phew, Lord, probably 2-3 years, like solid.
Longer than he'd like to.
Some people, yeah. But yeah, no, about 2-3 years. But me and my dad, we always did the old PlayStation console NASCAR heat games and stuff, and the EA Sports and stuff like that. But we were pretty competitive. iRacing was just starting, and him and I always talked about how cool it would be to get in it, because it was the simulator and so realistic and stuff. And we just never had the opportunity to get in it. And then he passed away. COVID hit. I had an opportunity to get into it. Found a cheap computer for, I think it was like $300. Dude was trying to sell it to me. I was like, "Will it run iRacing?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, I know nothing about computers, but show me some kind of proof or some way that it'll run it." And so he did. I went and picked this thing up. It looked a lot smaller than it was. I went and picked it up. I was on my crotch rocket. Had a backpack with me, and I was ready to put it in the backpack and ride home. I get there, and it is a full-size desktop computer. So
what you're saying is not much has changed since then. You still don't know a lot about computers, but you know graphics.
Yeah, pretty much. If it's on Photoshop, I can walk you through it without looking at it. But if it's anything else, no, I can't. Not that good at it. So yeah, my buddy, we live probably, I went to Morristown to get it. It's probably about 30, 45 minutes from my house. Called my buddy up. He happened to be over there too. I was like, "Yo, bro, here's the situation." He's like, "Well, I've got a ratchet strap." It's like, "Come strap it to me, by God." Yeah, I've got a picture of it somewhere. So yeah, dude, ratchet strapped the computer to my back, and I rode home that way. It was pretty fun. But like I said, I have to show the picture to you. I have to find it somewhere. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got started into it. The old Logitech wheel. My first base was a foldable lawn chair, and a table that I made for my steering wheel to kind of clamp down to, which was some scrap siding. So gotta start somewhere, right?
Got to do what you got to do. So,
Yeah.
Being in the NASCAR game simulation realm for so long, what is your all-time favorite besides iRacing?
As far as a racing game?
Yeah, as far as racing game, what is your all-time favorite?
I don't know, man.
NASCAR Racing 2003.
We're
That was the
close.
most
I was
the
gonna
the
say,
last papyrus release before iRacing.
Yeah, I don't think I was. I think me and my dad were probably still playing the EA Sports game at that time. Um,
You know what's funny is like if you go back
I
and
don't know.
look at like screenshots of NASCAR Racing 2003, the UI and the setups and stuff are oddly familiar between iRacing and NASCAR 2003. iRacing was actually co-developed or started by one of the co-founders of Papyrus Racing, one of the last developers from NASCAR 2003. It was awesome. My favorite game, personally.
Yeah, I remember playing a Papyrus game.
If you say Papyrus too many times, Mike Dunn will pop back in and say hello. Because I know Mike
Yeah,
Dunn was a big Papyrus guy. We haven't seen him in a while, but I'm like, who raced on that? And I'm like, oh, it's Mike Dunn. So I think we got one more time, and Mike's gonna pop in.
yeah,
Well,
If you
yeah.
say it one more
So
time.
all right, like
that
Beetlejuice.
company that shouldn't be named. I remember playing a computer game, man. Back in the day, you had to use the arrows to move it around and drive it and stuff, bro. You go around backwards and make some crazy wrecks, like some old cereal box cars. They were fun. But yeah,
What
other
kind of
than that,
cereal was it?
I think it was Butt Chinos.
Yeah.
Throw that
They had
sponsor
a
plug in
limited
for you.
run. Made a limited run.
Speaking of Butchino, Devin, tell us about yourself. I know you're the current league owner of the SCSRA. I know it's changed hand a few times, but you are the current one. What's going on with Devin?
Yeah, so I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for I think at the time it was Dylan and Max that were running the iOS. And I was running I think it was a Sunday night street stock league and small field, wasn't even broadcasted. There's maybe 11, 12 guys over there. And Dylan's like, hey, you should come race in my league. I run a truck league. And I think it was pretty big at the time. I think it was when iOS had Monday night ARCA, Tuesday trucks, Wednesday Xfinity, and then Thursday Gen 6, I believe. So I started over there, and this was 2021, I think, right before COVID, 2020 maybe. And um, yeah, I wasn't. A lot of people weren't very fond of me because I just didn't really learn the whole give and take. I was just a hot shot, just trying to, if I
He
was,
was a butthole.
I was, yeah. It was just like if I was slower than you, you're gonna still have to work just as hard and come a long way. Made a lot of friends through it. Um, and now the SCSRA, we're in season 6, almost heading to season 7, which is awesome. Um, took it over from previous management. I want to say at the end of season 4, just because he was busy
Yeah,
with life and kids, and which I totally understand. But from running that small street stock league, which was a bigger league, and I ran their ARCA and their trucks, the way they were ran, I mean, it was a big time league, like a lot of money changing hands, but I didn't get the family aspect as much as like the SCSRA. So when I kind of saw the signs that hey, he's pretty busy, he not showing up for either Tuesdays or Wednesdays, which isn't a problem at all because he had so much going on with his sons playing baseball and all that. And I just reached out to him like, hey man, like if you're ever looking to transfer ownership, I don't want to see this go anywhere, and I don't think everyone else that's been here for what almost 5 years now wants to see it go anywhere. So um, yeah, I took over, started season 5. Eddie was already doing the graphics thing. Um, Pardon me, I don't recall when you became an admin, unless you were there when I started.
I
Um,
started doing race control in season 4,
okay,
so I wasn't as involved in like the rule book and schedule or the schedules coming out and stuff like that. Definitely not graphics. That's all Eddie. But I started
was that
doing
the year
race
with
control
you,
season 4.
Rosenberg, Raposa, and was that year?
No, that was actually season 2. So it was me,
Oh, that was
Jeff.
so early. Wow.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, it came in early in the SCSRA. It was
Yeah.
me, Jeff, Rosenberg, whichever one. Who else was it?
I've got some names.
Was it
Yeah,
If he was
Raposa?
listening,
yeah, Eli Raposa. Let's stay off my quarter panel. Love that guy.
Forget about
get
it.
out of
Forget
here.
about it.
But no, man, I didn't want to see it go I didn't want to see it go anywhere, and I mean he was more than happy to. And I've just tried to run it as good as I can, as good as we can. I know we're going to get into it, but people don't get what goes on. Even a 2 night league. I mean, we got big plans that aren't quite ready yet, but people really don't get what goes on in the background. And everyone may think like, oh, we're being dramatic. It takes a lot, man. A lot of coordinating. a lot of moving pieces, whether it's a sick broadcaster. Um, Thankfully, we've done really well to be able to get back with like league funds. I think that's something you have to really be transparent about. And that's the thing. If any driver in this league wanted to see like, hey, where's our money going? We could show you every penny of it. You know what I mean? It's things like that. I feel like if you do good by people, people will do good by you. They'll stick around, and I mean, people obviously come and go through each season, but we built up a pretty tremendous core, man. We're all like family, which you just don't get that in other leagues. Eddie's ran in other leagues. I don't know how far you ran into other leagues, Hardening, but like it's just not the case. It's just different over here, man. Like whether it's going to Bristol, the Glen, like people get together, they hang out, and it's a good group. So that's why I took it over, and we're doing all we can to keep it going, and we're definitely rolling right now.
Yeah, and
Yeah, man, we meet up and go to the races together. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was cold. It was cold, but it was a blast.
Yeah.
and that's kind of the idea behind this show, is that it's a behind the scenes look at what happens obviously behind the scenes. I mean, there's so much more that goes into this. It's not just a Tuesday, Wednesday thing for us. I mean, we field questions, we deal with anybody's problems, penalties, all that stuff in the off weeks or even off days. So we may race Tuesday, Wednesday. We may have fun after the races Tuesday, Wednesday, but a lot of it Thursday through Monday is, I wouldn't say chaotic, but there's still stuff that we have to do. You know, we have an off season for 3 to 4 weeks for the drivers, not an off season for us. I mean, we're developing the schedules. We're
The regular season's our off season, man.
yeah, basically, yeah.
If it goes smoothly. If it goes smoothly.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a little bit of chaos caused by a couple of people. Sometimes. So if you are interested, I know if anybody's watching out there, if you're interested in learning more about the SCSRA, a couple of different places you can find us. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Discord. We do have some links out there somewhere. I think there's one on our Facebook page as well. Or if you go back and look at any of the, we have broadcast recruitment races in the past. On different channels, just search SCSRA. We actually have QR codes on some of the admins' cars during the recruitment races, so you can click on that, and it's a link to our Discord server as well. We also do have our website, scsra.net. It's kind of bare bones right now. I'm working on it. That's another one of my jobs, is the website, YouTube, and also any IT support for the league falls on me and one of our other members. So if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to me for that. So next on the schedule is talking winners and losers. So didn't really go over any losers. Well, besides myself in the truck race, that was awful. But
I feel like a big winner. I feel like a big winner this week. Got my computer back.
Yeah, no more mechanical issues out of the Neon stable. Yeah. We're all cleared up.
You hope. Yeah. All right, so
we fired an engineer. His name was Jesus.
Yeah.
No, he was still brought back on board. He's still there. He's just, his leash is a little bit shorter. Yeah. All right, we're going to bring go ahead.
No, I was going to say, going into losers, I don't really think there were any losers this week in truck specifically, because I believe everyone that was above the cut line made it in.
I can think of one, but just because the guy missed a race. It wasn't playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I would probably call that a big loser.
That's fair. We can visit that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's bring his teammate down, Daniel Wiles. He was the winner of the truck race this week at Homestead. Daniel, got us?
Yes, sir, I do.
Hey, Daniel, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. What are you doing right now?
We're going about 187 down the backstretch of Talladega.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Nice. So we're live right now.
Okay. And live on Twitch, I'm assuming?
Well, live on Twitch and live in the race car, so.
Well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
What's your Twitch channel?
We're on Twitch and TikTok.
What's your Twitch channel name? Put it out there for the viewers.
Pew Pew America 88.
Okay.
That's both Twitch and TikTok.
Okay. How often do you stream?
Almost every night. Pretty much every night, yep.
Okay.
Nice.
So let's talk about week 10, Daniel. How'd it go for you? Obviously, you won.
It went good. I've always been kind of fast there, but it's like I was telling Devin and the post race meeting room. The last league race I ran there, the high side was the fast way. So I was really shocked that the low side was the way to go. But man, after that pit stop, Devin got in front of me. I knew I had to drive hard to get back in front of him.
Yeah, the first run you guys were working the top, and I'm like, I hope they do that all race. And then I feel like we were pretty even. I didn't have the long run speed you did, but early in the run, I'm like, man, keep running that top because I think it's just gonna spread your stuff up. But once you and I believe Aspinall too. Aspinall was pretty quick, just like Gateway. You guys kind of moved to the bottom, and I'm like, oh boy, it's gonna be just straight up who can wheel it best on the bottom here. Once you figured out the top wasn't the way to go, but I do have one question for you as we kind of expand on that. Obviously, you, Michael, you're a 2-horse stable now at America Racing. It's kind of a 2-part question. You guys put in a lot of hours during the week. Is that change for the playoffs? Do you pick up any extra hours? And what kind of experience have you changed from the dynamic tracks now for the season? We're only 2 races into it, but man, I think iRacing did a crazy job with the way the track changes. So, has that changed your approach to the coming weeks and with the playoffs coming up?
Not really. With me, I just really I want to win more. So really with me, it's just to go out there, at least in the trucks, and really push for the victory, especially with him not being in it. Now next gen, we're still going to work as a team. I have a championship underneath my belt. He's always been on the wrong end of the deal each time. Like with the trucks, he had to go out of town for work, and he ended up being 1 race short from being in the playoffs. So, we're just going to go out there and just give it our best shot. This is the most competitive league that we've run. So practice has been really important, leading up to each race. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I think the biggest thing with that too is, this week's kind of straightforward with, Richmond still short track racing. Then we go to a 1.5 miles in Nashville. But, as we mentioned with Michael not being in it due to lack of starts with missing work, 1st to 12th is separated by 12 points. And with Talladega to start the second round, I think playoffs are going to get crazy, man. I think that give and take's going to go out the window. I think you have to when it's this close because, there's no one out there with runaway bonus points. So, yeah, Nick Fuller is going to be first in the playoffs, 1,012. And then Joe Wright's in 12th with 1,000. So that 12-point margin, that could disappear in one stage. So it's going to be really interesting on the truck side. I'm very excited.
Well, yeah. And like with me and Michael talk about this all the time, is I'm not really, when it comes to short run speed, I'm not there because I'm always afraid of being that person that's going to take somebody out. So I'm never really over aggressive. So I just got to kind of trust my ability to drive and be more aggressive and try and get these short runs done, or I'll be out first round of playoffs. So
yeah, no, I get that. I'm the same way. I'm more worried of burning my stuff up, but there's a fine line of being able to push it, still having tires left, and it's clicked for a handful of tracks. Others, it's learning every time, every lap we're out there, we learn something different. But I totally get what you're saying, especially on the next gen side with the way the arrow is. It's going to get to the point where if someone's faster than you, I don't know if you can pull over and give them 4th in the stage and give up that 1 point. So it's going to be really interesting what kind of racing we see out here because we've seen hard racing all year, but I think it's going to ramp up, and we got to see if we can keep the cars and trucks pointed forward as the intensity ramps up. But I don't have any doubt in my mind that we can because we got a really stout group over here.
Oh yeah, and next gens, I'm still trying to learn how to get those things handled. They don't ever feel like they're in the track. They always feel like they're just riding right on top. And I struggle. I love the trucks. I run the trucks all the time. But man, them next gens are so tough.
Yeah, get ready for Wednesday.
Oh, don't worry. We've already ran some practice laps, and it's another one where it's it literally feels like they're on top of the track. I mean, it's crazy how bad them things handle.
And I was going to ask, since this update, the oval refresh part 1, do you feel it's any different in the next gens? I know when you practice that I've done it, it feels, the dynamic track definitely makes it feel a little bit different, a little more planted. Are you noticing kind of the same thing, or is it still on ice for you?
See, to me, it just still feels like it's on ice. We did a practice the other night at Richmond, and especially when the tires are cold, we've noticed that with next gens, your peak spot is about lap 5. That's about when everything is working properly the way it's supposed to. But those first 2 or 3 laps, it's almost worse than the Gen 4 cars coming off the corner. Like, you can't be on the throttle. You have to be easy driving them.
Yeah, they get pretty slickery. I've noticed personally after the refresh, Dev and I were in there doing some laps at Richmond, and when the rubber was was laid down in that bottom groove, it was kind of like the groove kind of got a little greasy a little bit. It's kind of what it felt like for me. So it kind of put it on the right rear of the car a little bit more, which I personally like. I like a loose car, which kind of kills me with these fixed setups a lot because a lot of times I'm just not loose enough. Um, and then I got to compensate with brake bias, and when I do that, somebody in front of me gets crazy, and I hit the brakes, and then my brakes don't like it, and I'm around. So yeah, I usually try to loosen it up, and I've noticed after the refresh, it kind of feels that way. Um, so I welcome it. I like it.
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed with the refresh is I don't think you were there, Hartney. I think you were taking care of your wife for that one. But the cup race we had at Gateway, I think we were running 30. I think say it was 32. I think we were running 32 fours and 32 fives. By the end of that race, the sun had gone down. We took everyone took fresh tires for a 10 lap shootout, and we went from running 32 fours and fives to every lap. We came to 8 to go. Oh, P1 set the fastest lap, 32-2. Next time by 7 to go. Leader set the new fastest lap with a 32-1, and I'm just like, are they? I mean, it proves iRacing like really locked in with the temp cooling down and more rubber being built up, because that was fastest lap of the race went down 3/10 with a set of tires that late. It was nuts. That was the first time where it's like you really have to be prepared for the changes that come with this track. I mean, it's here, and it's not as it's not a cookie cutter to be able to put a whole race together. And our races are a little longer. I think our next gen distances are perfect. Sometimes they feel too long if it's a slower track, but I think they're at a really good distance for the stage and then to let the race play out. But it's going to take a lot to put these races together and get it done now, man, because this dynamic, it's going to change. Some of these tracks, especially the ones that are baking in the sun, not as much night races, but the ones that start baking in the sun, there's going to be some big changes, I believe.
Well, yeah, and see, and that's what we actually talked about that after Gateway. That last run, we were hauling the mail around that track.
Unbelievable.
It was crazy, the track temp and how it only went down maybe, I don't know, I think 9, because I have an overlay on my screen. I think it only went down like 9-10 degrees, and we were rolling those last couple laps.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. I haven't seen anything directly in the trucks. I mean, we just ran Homestead, so it's tough with the trucks. I used to be the biggest truck fan. I've had a lot of success in the trucks. They used to be my favorite vehicle on the sim, but they just always get tighter. I can't really think of any tracks where they really get looser. Whereas the next gen, it can be frustrating because they do get so loose. But I like the fact that I feel like you can just drive the next gen in so many different ways. And like we're talking about Richmond, if you're in second and you're chasing down the leader, you can pick up that throttle a quarter of a tenth too quick, and you're going to spin the car right around. So I like the next gen because I don't know how to say this. I think it takes a little bit more skill than the trucks to figure them out. I like how racy they are. I mean, I feel like you can do a lot more with them. Playing with the master cylinders, um, I don't know. It gives you a little bit more. Obviously, we do fix setups because open is just a whole nother world that I don't think most of us have the time to try and grind down for a race day. But yeah, man, I think the next gen have just quickly become my favorite because they're just I like a loose car. I'd rather drive a loose car that feels like it's on a train track or a slot car just locked in. So I'm excited to see how these coming tracks react
I
to
like
it.
them. I like them because of last year.
Well, I was
Or
really
last season.
surprised with the next
Yeah.
gens and how well they drove at Sonoma.
No,
Like
that
I
was
thought
awful.
they actually handled really well at Sonoma.
That was the worst.
They settled in more than expected. That's the thing with I think it's just a Sonoma thing where the first 3 laps are like black ice. But yeah, you can really get after it. Like you said, kind of like that 5 lap sweet spot. Once you hit lap 5, um, that's also one of my complaints. Kind of is the road course package because I mean you could run the entire race without taking tires, which is crazy. I mean there was speed for taking tires, but it's still wild how you could if you have the gap, you can try risking it not taking tires. There's just not a lot of fall off. It's kind of like the Australian V8 supercars, kind of like that.
Yeah,
But other than that, man, they're fun, man. It's you're white knuckle most of the time, which is a lot cooler than just driving a tight truck with one hand
yeah, yeah.
for an hour and a half.
The another thing I did notice, I went back and I watched the next gen race from last season at Homestead, and the pole the person that put it on the pole, it was like a 33-1. And man, we was running 32 somethings. It was crazy. I was like, my goodness, the updates and all that stuff, and it was crazy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and they drove pretty well there. Like I said, once you get past that lap 3 mark,
Yep.
then they really they settle in and they get, I guess, down into the track where they actually you can race them. So
So Daniel, a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know this is your first season with the SCSRA. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you get into when did you get into iRacing? How long you've been racing with Moultrie and learning from him, unfortunately. Just tell us about yourself, man.
Man, I started iRacing in January of this year. My daughters ended up buying me a Logitech G920 late last year, and I finally just got my first gaming computer. So I decided I've always wanted iRacing. I never had a gaming computer to do it, so I just went ahead and bit the bullet, did it, and it's been on from there. I grew up racing. I ran dirt go-karts all along the East Coast, mostly up in central Pennsylvania. Won three track championships and 2 Pennsylvania state championships. We used to travel all up and down the East Coast, ran the nationals. They always ran like in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. So yeah, I've been around racing, man, my whole life. My dad was, he used to work on dirt sprint cars with a buddy of his when I was growing up. So I've always was around him when I was a kid. So yeah, man. And once I got this iRacing, I knew I was going to be hooked, and I've really gotten hooked. Me and Moultrie, we actually met. I started my first league at Redline, and I was like, who wants to be a teammate? So he joined up, and he taught me a lot because we were in Gen 4s, and he's had iRacing for I think 3 years now, and man, he taught me a lot on Gen 4s, and I think that's where a lot of my stuff comes from because my first league was in Gen 4s, and most of my leagues have been in Gen 4s. So I don't know if y'all have driven them, but they're a handful to drive, and you learn throttle control very, very, very quickly with those.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
I
bullshit. You if
stay
you use that
clear of
right front, if you use that right front up too much, you'll learn really quick, and the rest of your run is going to be miserable.
Absolutely.
There's no cooling that right front down on those cars. If you did it, you're done. Put a Band-Aid on it and get to the next pit stop.
Yep.
Next question. Do you mind on air telling us where you get your grip hacks and fuel hacks from?
It's a secret shop. If you gotta really search the internet, I'll post it in Discord.
Appreciate it.
It ain't me though, man. I was just happy that I won, but I wish there was more competition there than when I won. I mean, me and Devin kind of pulled away from everybody, and I was like, it's great. I got to win. It's bonus points or whatever. But
bro, you can ask Courtney. I called my race before it even started. I said, I got my computer back. I'm jacked up. Like, I was excited. And then I was like, something's going to happen. Sure enough, it did. I messed up on my qualifying lap. Yeah, and then I got, and it was bad.
Man, you'll see that at the end of these, end of our end of our seasons, is that the field keeps getting bigger towards the end of the season, which is good. But the last like 6-7 races, it kind of separates in the field a little bit, but it's 9 times out of 10 green flag racing for the entire race. I mean, Homestead, I think we had 2 cautions in this race, one in being the stage, and that was the most cautions we've had at Homestead for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It's always like that at Homestead.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't know if you all see it. Me and Brandon Zimmerman, we're always joking because me and him are always like right next to each other. Our skill level is like almost identical. We're always racing with each other, but it's always clean. It's always been really, really good, clean racing.
Yeah.
I know the short tracks, I think the admins were about ready to throw the towel in and say, all right, screw this season. But other than that, like, I think what was it, Auto Club?
Oh my gosh,
that racing was absolutely Auto Club. Even on the official weeks, throws up some of the best racing. But man, that was just absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, the racing's always been good, competitive, green flag. I mean, it's good. I mean, everything gets intense. We're racing, but a lot of respect, a lot of mutual respect between everybody.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people come and go, but we've definitely built up a really strong core to go into with every, you know, each season that ends. Like Hartney said, it's like most leagues, people are just going to stop showing up at the end. But you know, over the course of 6 seasons, we've gotten 2 or 3 really strong guys every season. And hey, we're at 15, 18 going just into the off season, which could start. But I mean, you can see our numbers that we got on signups. We were pushing 40 in each series, and we try to call a fair league. There's no bias at all because we got penalized at IRP. So
you're welcome.
There's no.
You got one last season too, didn't you, there, bud?
Anyway, there's no bias at all.
Do we need to add that to the talking points? Do we need to talk about IRP, Devin?
Trying to talk, but you keep interrupting me. But no, we try to run the best league we can. We appreciate you saying things like that. It's funny that you bring up Brandon because I love Brandon. He's been awesome to have in this league. But it's funny because me and Eddie last season at one point, I think it was 6 or 7 straight weeks, we finished consecutive on track. It was like first and second, fourth and fifth, first and second, and it's just couldn't get away from the guy. But that's the thing is, you know, we have, you know, the caps from 1,000 to 3,000, and there's guys all throughout that, and it makes for good battles on track, everywhere on track, it seems. So.
Yeah. All right, Daniel, thanks for joining us tonight, man. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again in the next 5-6 weeks, and we'll talk to you then, man. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all having us in the league. Like I said, the league is strong. It's good. We enjoy it. So we're definitely going to be back next year or next season, I guess.
Absolutely, brother. Happy to have you guys here.
We'll think about it.
All right, y'all. Yeah, I hear you.
Have a good one, Daniel.
Later.
Good luck on your race, bud.
Thank you.
All right. Speaking of which, next we have Devin actually talking about your race. You won the next gen race, so I guess you're next. Or we could talk about IRP first if you want to. We can go back and review that video.
No, we can get that in week 16.
You got it, buddy.
Yeah, we'll get that the third week of the off season.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys, by the way.
Yeah.
There's been a late penalty.
So Homestead, Devin, tell us about it.
Yeah, it used to be one of my worst tracks. I mean, I've told the story before. My first race there was trucks in C fixed. I qualified like 6th or 4th or something like that. And first 4 or 5 laps, I got up to second, just rim riding. I'm like, man, this is awesome. It was my first time ever at the track. I'm just like, this is so sick. It's just like they do in real life. And by the end of the race, we went green. I finished 22nd a lap down. Just absolutely used my stuff up. So I'm like, got to revisit this track and put a lot of laps here over the course of this league, whether it was, you know, next gen trucks, Xfinity, or even when we did the 6 or whatever it was. but kind of like Daniel said, man, just getting back to the practice. Me, you, and Eddie turned laps on Tuesday, um, and we really dialed something in there, which was awesome. I think we figured out what to do there, and it just came down to executing, man. I live for the long runs. Not too many times I'm going to go out there and lead a lot of laps early. I could drive harder, but I get worried about burning my stuff up. But I'm slowly learning that these next gen cars, you can be a little bit more aggressive. Yeah, and we had, I think me and Eddie were the fastest cars out there. Daniel's quick. Eddie ran into a little bit of trouble there on one of the cautions. But with his PC stuff getting fixed, it's really cool to, get us running up front again, putting in laps, seeing it pay off. We get why Daniel and Michael do it. I encourage all teams to do it, even if it's 1 hour on some day of the week. And if you can do it with your teammates, do it with your teammates, because don't be scared to share stuff with your teammates and feed off each other, because would you rather be battling your teammates for 6 on track or for the win on track? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather lose to my teammate than lose to other guys in the series. So don't be afraid to share notes. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I tried this here, and then you go out there and you find a half tenth. I mean, Richmond alone, we gained 3/10 from what I expected to be running and what we were running at the end of practice. I think we turned 150 laps, shared a lot with each other, learned a lot.
And see, that's another
yeah.
thing. Like, if you can jump in there with somebody, because we were talking about it when we were running laps. You don't know if your pace is gonna be fast enough until you have somebody in there challenging you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, man, I could go back and look at my fast lap before Devin and I jumped in that Richmond practice in the next gens, and I've been like, man, that's fast, And looking back at the times him and I were in there, man, like that blows my fast time out of the water when I was practicing by myself. So definitely get in there with somebody.
That's one thing I've struggled with, because I could feel great. I think that's kind of what happened with me at Gateway. Is I didn't practice with anyone. I did an AI session. Car felt great. You know what I mean? I was super, riding the high going into Gateway, and
Yeah.
just didn't have the qualifying speed. Had probably a third place car at best. Made a bad strategy call there. Finished, I think, 5th. But then we practiced last week, and we were just hooked up, man. We got the long green flag runs we needed. It's just one of those tracks, man. Hasn't been a great season when it comes to lap slide wise. I think we've been in the top 5 quite a bit, but to go up there and compete with guys like Michael, outside of Darlington and Auto Club, we haven't really had it. So to get back to, I think we led like 81 laps, 82 laps. It was just a little bit of a confidence booster heading into the playoffs, which is cool. Because I know we had a couple guys out this week, and Daniel said he wished there was more people there, but I'm fine with it. We had 16, 17. These things are hard to win. So I like spending time with my guys. I like celebrating any of us winning. And yeah, it was a good race. I love Homestead, man. I think I can confidently say it's my favorite oval now. Just really like the place, but really looking forward to the playoffs too.
All right. So Richmond coming up. Speaking of which, let's talk about the playoffs. So we got Richmond coming up for both trucks and next gens. What's your predictions? What's it looking like for you guys?
I don't know if I'm speaking for Eddie here, but like I said, we learned a lot Sunday. Sunday afternoon, we turned a lot of laps, and like Eddie said, I gained 3/10 from my, first handful of laps to the end of the run or the end of the practice, and after 150, 200 laps, feel a lot better going into it. I didn't feel awful going into it, because I know last season Eddie was a car to beat. I was missing the last little bit to get Eddie. I think I got him on a restart or pit stop, but going into it, I knew that my speed there last season wasn't going to be enough with the talent this season. It just wasn't going to be the case. So me and Eddie put in some good laps and learned a lot. So feel good about that. I don't know if Eddie has anything else to say.
Yeah, I mean, the next gen side I'm feeling pretty good about. Not really done any truck practice there. So definitely need to do that. Probably I might try to do that at some point tonight. That way I'm not going into it blind tomorrow. Because that's usually another thing too, man. Because I'll practice one and I think I'll be all right for like the trucks or whatever, Like last season, the next gen scared the shit out of me. So I every chance I got, I wanted to get in and run the laps and try to find that line, try to find that breaking point, um, and not look like the ding dong that just joined 5 minutes in qualifying and you're out there causing a mess during the race. I just and I think that's what helped me last season catch on to him so quick because I put a ton of time in it, but I also didn't do that with the trucks, and I kind of feel like I let off with that too. And
Yeah.
so I try to now that my computer's back, I usually try to get in to a session, whether it be an hour, 20 minutes, depending on the track. Like if it's somewhere we go every season, I'll go in, get familiar with it, run about 10 laps, and then I'll be like, all right, cool. Unless somebody like Bacino or you Hartney or whatever want to jump into a session, then I'll do it. But it just goes back to the thing where you think you're running fast laps and you get in there with somebody else and you're really not. So you can spend hours thinking you're fast and get disheartened
Get humbled as soon
whenever
as
it
you
comes
come in there
race
with
day.
Moultrie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Moultrie or whoever, but like I would definitely suggest getting in there with somebody. But yeah, I feel pretty good about the next gens at Richmond. Trucks, I need to get in there and feel about it before I can confidently say I feel good about it. We usually go there, so I don't think I'll be too awful bad. So
I'm in the
Nice.
same boat as Eddie because been super busy lately. So trying to find that time to practice again. I just don't have time for both. And we've run the trucks for 6 seasons now. So, I mean, I have my ratio, my bias saved in my phone for each track. So it's something to start with in practice. I still get in practice 8:30, quarter to 9. But I'm just like, hey, if I got an hour or 2 hours, I'm focusing on the next gen, man. Like there's a lot more to learn and a lot more to lose in the next gen, in my opinion. Because hitting on, the right master cylinder combo.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Um,
man, there's so much stuff you can switch in the next gen compared to the trucks. So yeah,
yeah. Yep. Because I mean, trucks is just about um, drive, and I don't know. You can get more in the nitty gritty in next gen, man. Which is, if we're gonna spend an hour, 2 hours working on it, then get me right for that next gen, man. Longer races. If you're slower, you're gonna be miserable for a little bit longer than the trucks. Um, but it's clear, man. There's been some weeks where you've seen guys that have just hit on something, and you're like, damn, like I don't, I you want to just be like, what is your ratio? What's your cylinder? Like, what are you at? Because it's just trucks, you got the steering ratio and you got your bias. Next gen, it's a whole new world. So, um,
yeah.
kind of at the point with Eddie where it's like we have so much past knowledge in the trucks, try and rely off that a little bit. So,
All right. So let's put our racer hats away and put the admin hats on now. So regular series winners, Devin, you won the next gen series and Moultrie won the truck series. Unfortunately, as we talked, kind of hinted on early, Moultrie did not qualify for the playoffs. America Racing, both him and Daniel came in week 3 of the regular season. Per our rules, you have to race in 8 of the 10 regular season races, and week 10 cannot be a drop week. So Moultrie unfortunately had a work trip that he had to go to, so he missed all of week 10. So he's disqualified from the truck series playoffs. If they came in week 3, how is he eligible for next gen?
Well, week 3 would be the first week that they raced. So week 1 and week 2 they would be gone.
Moultrie actually, his first SCSRA start was the next gen at Auto Club. He didn't
Got
run
it.
trucks,
Okay.
but he started, and then he ran 1 week, and then he's like, actually, I'm going to sign up for both. And we're like, come on board.
Okay.
So,
All right. So those are our regular series winners. Devin, congratulations, bud. Moultrie, if you're listening, congratulations on the truck victory. I know if you guys hang around for next season, I know you'll be up there in the running for the next season as well. So congratulations to you both on that.
I know somebody might be selling a play seat. You can take those things with you.
I think his name's Eddie Morris Customs, maybe. I think it was.
Maybe.
I can't remember. Eddie, when was the last time you missed a race for not computer issues?
Man,
Because you took your rig with you to Disney World last year or last season. Was it
Me and
Disney
Eddie are
World or
like a couple
Universal?
we're like a couple Ricky Rudds, man. We're just like the Iron Men of this league.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
the
Dude.
first year it was Disney. The second year it was Universal. So, yeah.
Yeah, this dude
And then I
legit
always take it,
to Watkins
yeah,
Glen to New York with you.
yeah, yeah. Me,
Ridiculous.
Joe, and D Wright, man, we was all in D Wright's basement having the trifecta going on, man. We look like a sim racing centipede or something, you know. And but it was crazy because I ended up, I think we were at Talladega, and I think D Wright was pushing me to the win or something. I don't know, man. And I race in VR. Joe races in VR. I think D Wright was maybe at that time. And I'm sitting there in my little play seat, man, and across the line. Next thing you know, my foot's getting swatted, and it hit me. I wasn't at home, you know, because I'm in VR. I can't see, and I'm like, oh, you know, like it was crazy. But the last race that I missed, man, that'd probably be when I was out trying to make this league great again, I guess. Had to take
Put it
one
in
for the team.
perspective. This league's at 178 races, and Eddie's ran 172 of them. So
Yeah.
That's
pretty crazy
ridiculous.
numbers.
But if it counted from the iOS times and stuff, I think it'd be
Yeah, I
pretty
don't see
close.
that on SimRacer Hub.
Yeah, yeah.
Weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Playoff schedule coming up. So we got Richmond for week 1 of the playoffs, Nashville Super Speedway, Talladega, Kansas, and Phoenix. A good mix in the last 5. It's kind of an all around except for road courses, which I don't think road courses should be in the playoffs either. So good call on that one.
People would say they don't even belong in the regular season either. So yeah, we're not going to put them in the playoffs.
Well, and I think it was Wiles that
Eddie,
said,
stop there.
yeah, Eddie's a big not turning right fan.
Yeah, man, I'm like your aunt's crazy dog, man. He only turns left and chases his tail. That's it. I don't unwind myself.
And I think Wiles said it a couple weeks ago when we talked to him. There's not many NASCAR leagues out there that has a road course race in the regular schedule at all. I guess the 2 different ones that they've tried, they couldn't find anyone. That was one thing that attracted them to us, is that we have a road course in our regular schedule.
Yeah, they're really tough for leagues, honestly, because I mean, we only run one stage, and we've experimented with the doubleheader with the invert, two half races, 2 separate races. Got away from that, but the problem is you can't have yellows on because there's going to be wrecks all race. You're not going to have any green. It's going to take 2 hours pacing on a road course.
Yeah.
And then even with the one stage caution, it just gets so spread out. We've had a couple good races at the Glen, tight races at the end, but it's one of those things where I love road courses. I'm not fast at them. I love the idea of figuring it out, but it's tough. A lot of people, it's really tough. I mean, road racing is not easy whatsoever. So wide skill range, spread out racing. You like to have them because NASCAR does, but you could argue they don't put on a solid product for a league, and that's completely fair. And I don't think many league owners would argue that with you.
Yeah, unless you have like a handful of road course guys, and it's kind of tough too because like if you're doing a NASCAR Oval Series style league, I get throwing one in there, for the sake of having it, just because NASCAR actually does it. But usually on iRacing, you have so many different, racing that the stuff that you can do, like road racing, dirt road, dirt oval, dirt, like if you're a road racer, you're not going to join an oval NASCAR league expecting road courses. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Just one oval race during the season.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of times, you can scroll back through the Discord here, like the guys that were here last season, a lot of them aren't a fan of it, and I get that, you know. If you don't have time to do practice at an oval where all you do is turn left, you probably don't have time to do practice at a road course where there's a bajillion corners and you don't, you got to approach every one of them differently, and it's just one of those things. So, I mean, I
I
get
think
it.
we've tried our hardest because if you look at how many different road courses we have been able to run, doing one road course week a year, for 6 seasons. We've run what? We've run the Glen, Sonoma, Canadian Tire. We did Daytona Road Course, Mid Ohio,
Roval.
the Roval. That's 6. I think there's one more that I'm missing. Maybe Mid Atlanta or Road Atlanta. We did Road Atlanta because we did Road Atlanta and Mid Ohio. So
Coda was on there, wasn't it?
we did Coda, yeah. So we somehow been able to accomplish 8 different road courses. So we definitely tried it, man. And some are way better than others for just racing in general. But yeah, they can be tough. They can be tough.
Yeah, I didn't even buy Coda. I was like, nah, good.
Coda's a
Ain't got
hard
time for
track,
that
man.
nonsense.
Oh, Coda's a hard track. It's very technical.
I had 80Xs. I had 80
Yeah,
X's
that's
between
why
the
I
2
remembered
races.
it. Yeah, everybody was complaining about all the X's that they got.
I mean,
My
it
I
being
remember
only
Josh
complaint
saying
was
something
the Xfinity
about,
cars. The Xfinity cars are so tight. I just the setup there was atrocious, man. They could not get through the S's. But people that can make time through the S's, they were fast. They were letting it hang out, but they were they were flying through there.
I think that's where Dylan Redding straight junk Josh or something. Like he ate him alive, man.
Could have been. Could have very
Funny.
well been.
I mean, it being my home track, I'm partial to it, personally, but because I live in Austin, so I'm personally partial to that track. But it's definitely a more technical track. And
Well, you partially partial to them right-handers too, you weirdo.
I am. I do like the road courses for sure. I'm I don't have a lot of time to practice, so I'm never really fast at them, but I truly do enjoy them. I'm also a fan of Bristol dirt, so I mean, I guess I'm definitely in that weird category.
All right, bye guys. Have a good night. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been real. Y'all have a good one.
That's my impression of Bristol Dirt leaving the schedule and never coming back.
Speaking,
well, lasted. No, it wasn't.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Speaking of schedules, we got 5 weeks left in the season, in season 6. We mentioned earlier that our off season is not really our off season, that racing during the series or during the season is our off season. So what's on the horizon, Devin? Because it's fixing to start picking up for us.
Season 7.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten. We were discussing this the other day. We've gotten a really good jump on the schedule. I'm going to go ahead and call it now a little more traditional. We've planned it to get the best racing possible at certain times throughout the season. Definitely a big mix-up for regularly scheduled playoff races, I should say. I believe Richmond's been in there. I want to say Kansas was always in there, something like that. But we definitely took a little bit more of a traditional approach. We may have bitten off a little bit more than we could chew this season, getting a little too experimental. But I'm really excited for the schedule, man. It's got some just NASCAR tracks. You know what I mean? Like grassroots. Like when you think of NASCAR racing, it's like you want to be winning at these tracks. So keeping it at 15 races, it's a good number for us. We're going to do the same deal. We're going to do a live reveal of the schedule at the postseason awards ceremony. But we just want to put on the best product possible. And we had a stretch this season with dirt, short tracks. It just, and a week in between, that was 3 weeks where people were kind of feeling very just down about this league, man, it's crazy because we had week 2 at Auto Club, which was, I think to this day, probably the best racing we've had all season. And then Darlington went 160 laps, 4 cautions maybe with the stage. So we were just absolutely riding a high going into dirt. And then short track week, and it just didn't work out. No matter how much you want to run a track like Martinsville, there's just so many different skill ranges, and this isn't the fault of anyone. It's just the platform itself. Martinsville, even the Coke guys are wrecking at Martinsville. You know what I mean? So what do you expect a league of hooligans to come out here and do on a Wednesday? So, I love Martinsville. Eddie won there. He likes Martinsville. Quick at Martinsville. But it's just one of those tracks that we're not going to run it just because it's Martinsville. If it's not going to put on a good product for us and we're going to have 16 cautions, it just can't be on the schedule. And I think everyone will understand that. But we've put some really good tracks on, a couple tracks we haven't been to in a little while, which is very exciting. I'm excited to announce it at the postseason award ceremony. I hope people tune in for that.
Did we get another PowerPoint?
Oh yeah, I got the other one saved, so I just have to like change pictures and retype.
So
But
maybe
the dirty work's done for that.
Love it. Looking forward to it. Best part of the season.
So when you said that
A lot of work into
season
it. We appreciate it.
when you said that season 6 was a little more experimental, in besides Bristol Dirt, I noticed that in season 6 you made the change to where a lot of weeks were side by side, so we were racing the same trucks and next gens at the same track, where previously all the schedules were different. So when you say that this season was a little more experimental, in what ways did you experiment with this schedule, and what was the deciding factor of going more traditional? Was it Martinsville?
No, I don't think it was Martinsville. I don't know about you guys. I think the change to having both races be at the same track, I think it helped clean things up quite a bit because we have such a wide range of skill in this league. Obviously, there's no metric to be able to measure that, but I think it was the right move. Instead of, over the course of the season, 30 races, you have to practice for 30 different tracks. You only have to practice for 15 or 17 because we have a couple split weeks. But no, just with experimental. Love Martinsville. It just doesn't work for a league. Even the best leagues are still because just one of those tracks, man, breaking points and how quick things are moving there. IRP, we wanted to try a different short track, but that was riddled with cautions, and then the leader just took the outside, and they just had to defend. There's a caution every 5-10 laps max, so you just had to defend. Or if you're the leader, you had the advantage. Dirt was very experimental. We know how that went. And then to the road courses, we've had the best product on bias, New York bias aside. We have had the best, closest racing for road courses at Watkins Glen. I think it's just one of those tracks that everyone knows how to get around. I know Eddie said it in the past, but like growing up, like you mentioned on NASCAR games, growing up, you know how to drive Watkins Glen. You know how to drive the current Sonoma Fig, not the one they ran for 3 years. But those two tracks are two tracks that and they're probably going to put on the best product. Did I have fun? I embraced the challenge of Canadian Tire. We wanted to put those different tracks on, but they just didn't put on the product like Watkins Glen did. And obviously, we don't want to go to Watkins Glen every season. People didn't want to go to Watkins Glen every season. They were asking, can we go somewhere else? So that's why that was one of our split weeks. We did Sonoma, and we did
Canadian Tire.
Yeah, Canadian Tire.
But it was a stretch. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it went dirt, short track, or vice versa. And then we had our double points race at Charlotte, which was fine, 1.5 miles. It's a good 1.5 miles for both series. And then it was New Atlanta, which was a third restrictor plate race. And if we have a 15 race schedule, we shouldn't have 3 of those. 20% of those. 20% of those be restrictor plates. Unless the only way I do it is if it's another Talladega, probably, because we have to have the 500, and Talladega is always going to be a playoff race. That's always going to have a solidified spot. That's not going to go anywhere.
I also feel like if we're going to actually do a restrictor plate race or a super speedway type race, it needs to be on an actual track where you can do that style of racing. Like, they messed Atlanta up so bad. They junk.
Yeah, no, and I'd bite the bullet on that one coming up with the schedule.
Well, everybody wanted it though. Put it back on there. It's like, bro, it's gonna be horrible. Put it back on there.
And it's not we're not getting rid of these tracks because people complained about the challenge of them. Because like not everyone's gonna be fast everywhere. You know what I mean? I'm awful at 1.5 miles. It just didn't work out. We want to put on the best product for the league, and just looking back at that dirt short track week off Atlanta road course, it just did not work out well. And we live and we learn, and we just want to put on the best product, man. Because you look at Homestead, you look at Auto Club, you look at Darlington, you look at that Charlotte race was super racy the entire time. So we're just trying to learn, move on, and apply that going forward.
Okay. So season's coming up to an end. When do we start recruiting again? I know Primarily, we did it through Facebook this last season, which we did get our numbers up. It kind of fell off, but we got a couple good people to stay that are going to stay even into next season. But what is recruiting looking like? We're going to do some recruiting races. When does that start?
I think I would like to stick with the same game plan of, I think I'm in 2 iRacing leagues and then everything iRacing. And there's just so many people there, man. It's so many people. The biggest thing is getting them into the Discord. Because once they're in the Discord, then we start posting recruitment races. They get all the info there. Doing it the old-fashioned way, which we did for a long time, is doing a recruitment race and then being like, "Hey, stick around after the race. I'll get you the link. I'll get you invited." And you could have 8 people that are like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to race." 0 of them get into Discord. So that's where a lot of the behind the scenes is. Posting in these leagues 3-4 times a week, and then one DM with a guy saying, "Hey," and then you don't have to sell the league to them, but if someone's going to spend this much time of their life every week, you do have to kind of sell them, be like, "Why should I race with you? What makes you better than the average Joe's league?" Or, you know what I mean? No, if there's an average Joe's, I'm not talking about you. I'm just there. You can.
I'm sure there is an
DMs.
average Joe's league
Get
somewhere.
shut down on the first one.
Well, you could see some of my messages between it's 20 messages back and forth, and guess what? They're here with us now. So I'm not out there trying to be a door-to-door salesman. We do have both races broadcasted. We have league sponsors to keep league fees as low as we possibly can, and we are working on more and more things. So biggest thing is just posting on Facebook, just getting them in the Discord. Get them in the Discord, get them into one central place, and then the weeks leading up, schedule the recruitment races like we did last season. So people in the Discord, we're not hoping people see it. We're knowing some of the rookies see it, and they can just pop on in.
Speaking of sponsors, Devin, we did get that one that I messaged you about. I have, so I have the links and stuff for that. We'll have it in the next week's show. There's a commercial and everything that we can play, and some JPEGs and stuff we can put up. So we'll introduce we'll reveal that next week on the show.
Awesome. That's awesome, dude. That's clutch.
Last thing we have today is milestone stats guy. You wanted to talk about a couple of different things. I mean, this season's definitely been very interesting. Yeah, exactly. This season's been interesting.
Numbers don't lie, dude.
No, with the next gens. I mean, we had a bunch of different first time winners, first time racers. So I know it's been a very diverse season when it comes to the amount of people that were able to show dominance in these cars. So Devin, take it away, bud. This is your shining moment.
It is, yes. I do want to preface, over 5.5 seasons now, almost done season 6, we have had 100 different people make starts with the league, so that's really cool. Can't wait to see that number keep growing and growing in SimRacer Hub. SimRacer Hub is pretty much my Bible. I am such a numbers nerd. Even when I played with my 164s as a kid, I had loose leaf books of stats and stuff. So I love SimRacer Hub. Sponsor us. Shout out to shout out to the career starts milestones. David Wright, D Wright, he's been with us forever. He had his 150th start this week. That's a lot of races. That's awesome. I love seeing people get to those numbers. Blaze Richardson, our Daytona 500 winner, Devtona 500 winner, he's already at 50 starts, which is crazy. Really happy for him.
I don't feel like he's been here that long. That's crazy.
No, man, that's crazy. 50 starts is a lot. And then Matthew Fritz made his 25th career start, and he was really quick at Homestead. He's got some of the best long run speed that I've ever seen in this league, so that's really awesome. Our guest earlier today, Daniel Wiles, 100 different people have started a race. He was the 33rd driver to win an SCSRA race. So right about a third of the drivers that have ever raced have won one. So that's pretty cool. Shout out to Eddie. He extended on his all-time poles record with 23. I want to say the next closest is 20. So Eddie is turning into 20. Yep, next closest is 20. So Eddie's turning into a little bit of a rocket, man.
Oh yeah. That's what happens when you're the Fried Piper, bro.
Your number of poles gets higher and higher. I was able to extend my all-time wins record up to 34. I love winning races here, man, because they're so hard to do. there's just talent that comes in every season that makes them harder and harder. So that was really cool. It's been an up and down season. There's a lot of fast guys, so we'll take it where we can. And then I also was able to surpass 2,000 laps led, being the third driver to do that. Yeah, if we had 3 drivers surpass 2,000 laps led in the series between the two, then the next guy on pace to do that is Eddie. So we'll have to watch for that as well.
All right. So that's everything that we had covered for today. We, like Devin said earlier, we strive for transparency in our league. So if there's ever any questions that you guys have, if you want to see where your money goes towards every season, you're more than welcome to ask. Ask Devin. Don't ask anybody else. He knows where the money goes. He does all of that. So please don't ask Eddie or I. We can't help you in that field.
I mean, you can ask me. I'll just tell you to go to Devin.
Exactly.
And we're always trying to find ways to give back. I mean, this year's throwback paint scheme contest was awesome, man. It was some of the coolest schemes that we've ever seen. Paid out 25 to Josh, which covered his league fee that he never paid us. So that worked out. And then Blaze had a really awesome Casey Kane throwback that he won in at Charlotte, and our throwback week was at Charlotte. So little things like that, man. I mean, I can promise you the admin brains are always turning to see how we can continue to give back to the guys that keep putting their butts in seats. Doesn't matter if you're out there winning or running 11th. You know, we appreciate everyone that runs this league.
Yep.
You know, we may joke about how busy it is, but we'd rather be busy than not doing anything at all. I can promise you that.
For sure. Well, that's all we got for tonight. Tune in next week. Next week, we're going to talk about what goes into making a schedule, what we look for, things like that. It's kind of as Devin said earlier, we're going to try to go back to more of a traditional schedule, and kind of to see where that goes. We have a good idea of what it looks like right now. Again, we'll reveal that week 16 after the series is over. We do have our all-star race coming up as well. Or did that already happen? I can't remember. No.
All-star race is the last race.
Yeah. So if you
I'll
guys
put together who's locked into the playoffs too, so we can watch over the course of the playoffs. Because even if you're not in the playoffs, if you're not locked in yet, you still got a lot to race for, because that's $100 to the winner.
Awesome. All right. Again, thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate everyone coming by tonight. You guys have a good rest of your night. And Devin, Eddie, thanks for dropping by. Bring your I guess bring out all the information you can. Devin, I guess come up with some more stats.
Choose them words wisely, sir.
I got you. I'm the numbers guy. I know my role.
For sure. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
See you guys Tuesday.